The moment you tell someone your dream, you've already killed it. It sounds wrong, doesn't it? But every time you announce a goal, you are trading your future success for a moment of cheap, immediate praise. You feel that rush, that hit of dopamine, but the next morning the fire in your belly is gone. You are left paralyzed, trapped by a heavy, invisible weight, a burden of expectations you created with your own tongue. If you feel like a fraud, constantly talking about a big move that never happens, you aren't lazy, you are simply leaking your soul. But there is a way to seal those leaks and turn that internal pressure into an unshakable empire. In a few moments, I will reveal the ancient secret to silent control, a method so powerful it physically changes how your brain processes success. However, before you can master this power, you must understand the tragedy of Elijah. He was a man who had everything planned out, yet he ended up drowning in a kingdom of shadow for a reason you'd never suspect, a reason that is likely draining your energy right now as you watch this. Elijah sat at the center of the table, his voice booming with a confidence he hadn't yet earned. He painted a vivid picture of an empire he planned to build, while guests nodded with a shallow admiration that felt like a warm, addictive drug. He felt like a giant, unaware that his words were leaking the very fuel he needed for the journey. Later, under the blue light of his phone, he watched the likes roll in on his manifesto like waves hitting a crumbling shore. Each notification was a tiny hit of dopamine, a counterfeit version of real success. But as the digital noise grew louder, the actual fire in his belly began to flicker and fade away. He was celebrating a victory that hadn't even reached the battlefield yet. When he finally sat at his desk, the silence felt like a physical weight. His fingers were heavy, anchored by the expectations he had broadcasted to the world. This is the invisible burden, the fatigue of being a king with an entirely empty kingdom. Elias had spent all his psychological currency on the announcement, leaving nothing for the actual labor. But why does the brain treat a post like a promotion? And what is the specific silent leak that is draining your bank account and your willpower while you sleep? Elias was about to find out, but the answer would require him to face a man who didn't believe in words at all, a man who held the key to a power most people will never touch. Desperation finally led Elias to leave the noise of the city behind. He sought out Master Thorn, a legend who lived where the wind spoke louder than men, a man who had no social media and cared nothing for grand manifestos. Elias arrived at the stone garden with his heart racing, desperate to be validated. Before he could even catch his breath, he began reciting his long list of achievements and grand design. But Thorn remained a silhouette against the gray sky, rhythmically striking a chisel with a wooden mallet. For 20 minutes, the only response Elias received was the steady, unwavering clink of the stone. Have you ever stood before someone whose silence felt like an interrogation of your soul? Thorn's stillness made Elias's noise feel hollow and weak. Finally, the tapping stopped. Thorn looked not at Elias, but through him. "You have brought a bag full of holes and expect me to fill it with gold," he whispered. He explained that Elias's tongue was a thief, stealing the effort from his hands before the work could even begin. To build something that lasts, you must first learn to inhabit the cold, dark silence where the roots take hold. Thorn then issued a challenge that felt like a death sentence to Elias's ego. Stay for 3 days, but speak not a single word about the past, the future, or his plans. It was the mental ritual of the threshold, a way to strip away the mask. But Elias didn't know that Thorn was hiding a specific object. A simple tool that was about to prove exactly how Elias had been accidentally sabotaging his own bank account for years. On the second morning, Thorn handed Elias a shallow wooden sieve filled with fine silver-gray sand. "This represents your daily reserve of vital energy," the master whispered. He then commanded Elias to do something that felt natural: tell the world about his grand future. As Elias spoke about his tall glass buildings and his thousands of followers, he grew animated. But look closely at your own life. Have you ever noticed how your hands move when your heart is trying to convince the world? As Elias's gestures became wider, the sieve began to sway. Fine dust began to rain down on his boots, a silent casualty of his own noise. The more passion he poured into his description, the faster the silver grains escape. He was literally breathing his future away into the wind, converting the energy of doing into the vapors of talking. By the time the story reached its climax, the sieve was hollow. Every word you speak about a goal is a grain of sand you didn't use to build its foundation, Thorn observed. This is the strategic secret of the greats. Your brain cannot distinguish between the praise for a plan and the satisfaction of a result. When you announce your path, your mind releases victory chemicals prematurely, leaving you hollow and unmotivated for the actual work. Elias finally felt the dry heat of his own ego, a sun that had scorched his potential before it could even sprout. But Thorn wasn't done. He was about to reveal a final provocative ritual, a way to turn that escaping steam back into a diamond-hard focus. But to do it, Elias would have to face the one thing more terrifying than silence: the hidden seed protocol. Elias stood there, the empty sieve still in his hands, feeling the profound weight of his own quiet. The urge to explain himself or make another hollow promise had finally withered away. He realized that for the first time, he didn't need Master Thorn's approval. The invisible burden of being perceived had lifted, replaced by a cool, steady stream of internal focus. You see, a seed doesn't scream about its potential while it's struggling beneath the dark, heavy soil. It uses that pressure to crack its own shell and reach for the light. If you dig it up every day to show your friends how much it's grown, you simply kill the life within. Elias had been digging up his dreams hourly, exposing their fragile roots to the dry heat of the sun. Master Thorn delivered the final vow. Speech spends the treasure. Silence guards the temple. He explained that your will is like a pressurized steam engine. It only moves the wheels if the valves remain shut. Every time you brag or post your plans, you open a valve and let the precious internal heat escape. This is the secret of the grip. Keeping your mouth shut tight to create a productive tension that forces you to work until the trunk of your success is too thick for any wind to blow it over. Thorn handed Elias a small, smooth black stone, a physical anchor for the hidden seed ritual. He was told to bury one major goal in the silence of his mind for 30 days. No spouse, no friends, and certainly no digital void of the internet. But as Elias turned to leave, Thorn asked one final provocative question, a question that revealed why most people are actually terrified of letting go of their stone. Elias walked down the mountain path, not as a man who spoke, but as a man who did. The black stone in his pocket was a constant reminder that his power was no longer for sale for the cheap price of a like or a nod. He understood that the world doesn't need more announcements. It needs the undeniable gravity of results. But as Elias left, Thorn's final question echoed in his mind, and I want to ask it to you. How many of your dreams have died on your tongue because you were too busy carrying the weight of everyone else's expectations? You see, many of the stories you hear here aren't just stories. They reflect the invisible weight you may be carrying every day, the pressure to perform, the guilt of saying no, and the exhaustion of seeking validation from a world that doesn't truly see you. If you're tired of holding pain, responsibility, and guilt that were never yours, I created a guide to help you drop the sieve and stop the leak of your soul. I call it The Weight of Stones That Are Not Yours. And this is the bridge between Elias's silence and your freedom. It is for those who want to let go, set boundaries, and finally live with the lightness Thorn described. When you join this path today, you're not just getting a book, you're receiving the complete blueprint for silent control. Main ebook, The Weight of Stones That Are Not Yours, the core method to identify and release the external pressures paralyzing your Bonus 1, Learning to Let Go. A deep dive into the mental ritual of the threshold to strip away the masks you wear for others. Bonus 2. When saying no is an act of self-love. The ultimate guide to guarding your temple and containing your internal heat for what truly matters. The invisible burden ends the moment you choose to stop being a performer for an empty kingdom. The link to claim your copy and all bonuses is in the description and the pinned comment below. Starting tonight, I challenge you. Perform the hidden seed ritual. Pick one goal, commit to 30 days of total silence, and let the pressure in your chest turn into action. Don't tell me your plans. Instead, simply comment, "The seed is planted," to signal that you are ready to claim your silent throne over the loud, empty stage. Your results will speak for. Click the link now and let's begin the work in silence.